You are listening to Spilling the Tea, a real estate podcast with Kristy Massero and Shelagh Maychek.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spilling the Tea, a real estate podcast with your hosts, myself, Kristy, and Shelagh Maychek.
Hello.
Today, Spilling the Tea with us is he super buff or are those layered knit sweaters? Agent David Smith and homeowner. See, I'm laughing because Jeremy Pugh's in the room and he's laughing. I'm sorry.
He's wheezing.
He's wheezing.
For the record,
Yeah.
Jeremy is wheezing.
And homeowner turned mortgage broker, Angela Long.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you guys for coming.
You're
So
welcome.
we're here to talk about family matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the, I don't need a home inspector, my uncle worked in construction, to the toddler running around the house with their sticky fingers.
Couldn't be us.
No, not us.
It's both of these guys, 100%.
Yeah.
No.
Family means the world to us. And they definitely get involved in our real estate transactions. And they come with their quirky personalities and their opinions. Mm-hmm. Everyone's got family with opinions. Yeah. And man, do they have opinions. The second a first-time home buyer breathes a word about buying a place, they need to prepare themselves for the onslaught of unprofessional advice that they're about to seek from their neighbors. Oh, your house is not listed for high enough. Their family members, oh, I wouldn't have paid that for that. Mm-hmm. Or their friends, oh, well, when I bought such and such did such and such for me.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I literally came here via picking up a key from a person that's about to list their home with us, from her parents. The parents both answer the door, and he's like dangling the key. And then she asks, so how much are you going to list for?
Like, I won't even give it to you unless...
Yeah, he's like withholding the key from
And you're
me.
like, I can't discuss with you.
I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
Please can I have the keys?
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, you
Yeah.
can't discuss it. So
Yeah.
that's an excellent story because parents, they do interject,
Yeah.
right? Sheila, you got a story about some family at an open house.
Family, a couple comes in, really young kids through the open house, and to entertain them, they have brought the crumbliest chocolate chip cookie I have ever seen. And the house I'm in, it's immaculate, like gorgeous wood floors and lots of light colored carpet on the stairs. So I was literally following the little kid behind, picking up the pieces of chocolate chip cookie as quickly as possible so it would not melt into my homeowner's carpet. And so that was, I'd say it was a poor use of my time because I was doing that as well as trying to greet people in through the door and show them the house. So that was not fun.
No.
No, I mean, I understand that kids have to eat and snacks are good, but of course, when you're going to someone else's home, got to be careful, that kind of thing.
Yep.
I think that's ownership for the parent, and it should not be.
The problem is that they don't think that's ownership for the parent. You're right. They're wrong.
You are right. This is why we host this podcast right here. We're at a
I
parent
just don't know
shame.
Bring a
if
rice
anyone could think
cracker,
that's
it's
acceptable,
plain.
but I mean, nowadays, a lot of parents think the oddest things are acceptable.
Yep, that's true.
Bring a rice cracker.
Yes.
Or even to let kids, like, just walk out of their car. I see a lot of kids get out of their vehicles covered in chocolate and ready to walk somewhere. I mean, my kids have tried it. Sure, every kid's going to try it. And I'm like, stop. Time to wipe your hands.
Yeah, you
And-
get the wipe out or you're like...
Yeah.
Yeah, a little spit shine.
Yeah.
Spit shine.
This might be dad mode. I'm just taking my kids' pants off there. Like, they're covered in chocolate. You're going in your underwear, kid.
Have you ever spit shined your child?
Oh, yeah.
I could try. My money's on them winning that one.
Swatted. I get little swats here and there. And
Oh, yeah. One of
it's
them
like,
in
Mom,
particular.
stop. I'm like, it's okay. I was like, now I'm going to try it again and keep trying.
I like it. I enjoy that. That's great. We're gonna get into our first scenario. And Angela, we always go to you first because you're the homeowner. So I'm gonna read this out to you, and you're gonna tell me kind of what you'd think. I'm gonna ask you a question after. Okay?
Okay.
You ready? Your home is for sale, and you've stepped out of the day for showings to occur. Upon returning, you find tiny chocolate handprints on your duvet. The toys in your child's bedroom have been pulled out, and it's obvious that someone has let their little monkey jump on the bed. How do you feel knowing that someone has made themselves feel a little too at home in your home?
I feel as if now that I'm a mother of two, that I would find I'd be upset. I'd be disappointed. I don't know.
That's such a motherly answer. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I would be. I don't know.
worse.
I'd be disappointed that another person would allow that to happen, and then I don't know if I would be questioning my agent. I would ask my agent, like, "Did you not see this?" And then I would go ranting to my husband. This is bloody ridiculous.
Yeah, okay.
As
so
if
you'd
I
beg.
don't do enough laundry already. Just add it to my pile. Lovely. Like,
Right. Yeah, because you just don't know, right? Like how used those things are, especially when we just went through a pandemic. Like touching,
give me
especially
the Lysol wipes.
yes,
Yeah.
kids' toys. We used to go around the house after and wipe down the house just because people weren't comfortable.
Yeah.
Is basically
Yeah.
what it boiled down to, regardless as to whether or not the homeowner was okay with it. We used to go around and wipe anyway.
Yeah, 'cause
just in case.
Especially with little kids, if they're coming through, it's so hard for them. They're always going to be touching their face.
Yeah, yeah.
Or,
kids,
or something.
of course.
They
yeah.
want to touch everything.
So, David, have you ever had someone complain that their house was a little well used during a showing?
We were kind of chatting about that a little bit earlier on, and I couldn't think of anything in particular. And then you reminded me of a certain story,
It's a
which
good one.
involved two of the people in the room here.
Yeah.
Sheila,
There's only 5 people in the room.
Jeremy,
Yes, David?
And this is making the podcast.
And then Jeremy just reminded me that it was my first ever detached listing,
Oh,
which I also had forgotten. So apparently I don't remember much of my first real estate year.
He's just blanking it out because
it's
it was
just
so
gone.
bad.
It's gone in my mind. And
We traumatized him.
yeah, so I think it was a little rancher in Blacklock, a nice neighborhood of Langley.
Yeah.
And someone, I think it might have been Jeremy, touched the blinds, and then the blinds fell off. And
See
then,
Sheila's face right now? So people who aren't able to watch, Sheila is holding it in.
Yeah, and we're hearing her amazing laugh.
Yeah.
And I immediately, as a brand new realtor, is like, I got to get on the phone. And Jared's like, we're going to get a screwdriver. And it's okay. It's okay.
The man with solutions.
So then, wouldn't you know, it just so happens to be Sheila that's doing one of the showings. And what
Yeah.
happened, Sheila?
I was gonna. You close up the house when you're done.
Yeah.
Like
You
you check
do.
all the doors. If I opened a blind, I was gonna put it back down the way I found it, and it's one of those pull ones. So you pull down on the string and you kind of tilt it at an angle, and you're supposed to let go and release it. Well, I did those things, but when I released it, the blinds came with me.
What
so,
are the odds that you ask me that question with
Yeah.
these people in the room?
Yeah, I just remember Sheila was very upset and she was bleeding
I felt
because
so bad. First of all,
Yeah.
Did you get any on the carpet, Sheila?
not this time. No.
Good, thank you.
But yeah, she was actually like injured and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened."
I
And
think you were mad at me as well.
no.
Are you sure?
100% no.
I just usually assume that.
No, because that would have been on Sheila for
Yeah.
getting hurt, I guess.
Yeah.
So you were mad at Sheila?
No, I wasn't mad at anybody. But like that situation, 100%, we always try to put the home back.
Yeah.
as an
Of
exact-
course.
right? And
course.
I feel like that is something that could happen very easily.
Yeah.
totally.
That is something that.
It happened, and you were in another room, like, oh, that's noticeable, isn't it?
I was like,
Well,
"Are
it
you
would be
okay?"
worse if it like hit the wall. Sometimes they come down, the old
Yeah.
ones with the metal, and they can really.
Well, we were
hit the
lucky
wall.
that it
Hefty.
wasn't like a kid, opening a window
Yeah.
or something. So it was
It was
better
just
that it
me.
was a
Yeah.
realtor,
Yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
better that it was Sheila that
Yeah,
was
Yeah,
so
it was just
Sheila
me.
I agree, Christy.
and Jeremy.
She can catch a
I
blind
mean, the
really
fact
well.
that we had to go back that far, it doesn't happen often.
it
Yeah.
doesn't.
happen.
I don't normally cause property damage during a showing.
No.
Yes.
So-
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Nor did my media team.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Jerry.
Yeah, you're welcome,
Yeah.
Jeremy. David, have you ever had to crack the whip on children during a showing?
Yeah, and I do it nicely, like as best I can. I also obviously am a parent, so I'm used to being somewhat patient, and I'm generally more patient with other people's kids. I don't know if that's the case
Yeah.
for you as well, Angela. But I think just like Sheila having to like run around and grab cookie crumbles before they melt into the carpet, it stops you from being able to do your job. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the trade for me. Like if I have to be all nice and be Uncle Dave, and I can't be Realtor Dave at the same time. So the parents aren't getting as good an experience with me in the home, which
Right.
obviously isn't ideal because I have a job to do while I'm there. So it's not that parents can't bring kids to showings. It's just there needs to be some ground rules that are established, and usually we're able to establish those ground rules. But I think we all know as well that children sometimes look at your ground rules and then laugh at you.
So, Angela, you're a mom of how many?
Two.
Two. Okay.
kids.
So, if you were to take your children house hunting, would you like preface them before they go into the house, or
I did go house hunting when I had my daughter. She was 1 and my son was 3. And my daughter stayed in her bassinet carrier, like the car seat carrier.
Yeah.
And my son, I did not let go. And everyone's like, oh, I can help you. I'm like, nope, I got this. Didn't let go of my son. And he's like, I just want to see. And I was like, held him tight and he wasn't going down. And
Give him an inch. They'll
I was
take
like,
a
do you
mile.
see this house, right? It is so gorgeous when we were looking. And I mean, some houses we looked at, I was like, oh my God, I don't even want you touching anything. It is
Keep your
really
shoes on.
gross, right? And then some houses are so beautiful that I'm even nervous. I'm like, oh my God, do you guys have things for my shoes? Like, so yeah, I am just the type of person. I am not very strict, but
strict enough.
Strict enough,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. David, you bought a house not too long ago.
Yep.
Did you take your kids house hunting with you?
No, we had a fairly unique experience where it was like, oh, I won't get into the whole story, but it was basically Amanda and I, we saw it for like 3 minutes. We're like, this is going to be our home. And that was it.
And you're just going to tell them that you're moving
I don't even
later?
know who had the children, to be honest. It's all a little bit of a blur.
Yeah.
They weren't at home on their own, I promise.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forget you guys are all police officers.
That's amazing.
We're
Yeah.
related somehow to police officers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The craziest thing I've ever had at an during a showing was somebody's kind of trying to test out the house. I had a full grown man, get into a bathtub, and he just wanted to see if he would fit in it. And he crawled right in that bad boy. Like, he made sure it was dry. He got in there. He
Checking out the soap
kind of
brands.
laid down. I walked into the bathroom like, well, you're not naked, so it's not like I'm not walking in on you. But I'm like, what's going on here? And I was just like, I'm like, how's the tub? And he's like, I didn't know what to say. And he's like, it's good. This home will work. And I'm like, great.
I've never had like someone crawl in a bathtub or under a duvet or anything like that, but I think more common it's that they want to test out absolutely everything. And if we're on a tour or we have a limited showing window or something like that, I do remind them, it's like, look, especially in a market like the one we're in right now, most likely we're going to be able to get home inspections, so we can do a lot of those tests right now. Let's focus on the layout and what your lifestyle is going to look like here and where your morning coffee is. And I'll go and look for like the condensation around this skylight. Like, you don't need to test everything right now. It's going to be okay.
This was more of a 2-day RCMP transfer. You see 14 houses in one
Testing
day
everything.
situation. And this guy was a bath guy. So I was like, all right, buddy, get in there.
We've actually had multiple clients. They're like, I need to see the bathtub.
Yeah, I need to make sure that I fit in the shower. And it's like, okay, go fit in the shower, because it's like their deal breaker.
I could see that.
They stand in there, they move their elbows a bit, and they're like, this will do. Here we go. I'm tall. Yep.
Or doorways. I could see a lot of bigger dudes being worried about doorways.
Yeah, we're definitely. We've sold houses in the past where
We're not selling from the Victorian era. Okay,
but hang on though, hang on, because like we had a listing
Last year?
last year where the ceiling height was considerably lower.
Really, like 7 feet?
It was still legal.
It was good on the main floor, but then you go downstairs.
Yeah, the house was built in 47, so like you go downstairs, and if it was a really tall person or family, like they're gonna be like this, like hunched over.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you don't want to be hunched over in your own home.
Okay, we're going to scenario 2. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, here we go.
Let's go.
You're selling your home and the buyer has subject to home inspection. No problem. You pack up your family for the 3-hour appointment and you head out. Only for your phone to ring 5 minutes later. Your agent relays to you that instead of a licensed home inspector, the buyer has brought their Uncle Bob instead. They want to save the $600 and Bob knows his stuff. After all, he had a short career in construction. He was a homeowner his entire life and is a Mr. Fix-It around the house, but ironically hates Mike Holmes. Okay, so unfortunately these situations happen, right? People want to save that $600. Angela, how would you feel knowing that an unlicensed, uninsured inspection is being conducted at your property?
I'd be nervous. I would be like, excuse me, no. Well, and I think I would give working in the mortgage industry now that I know that there are certain inspectors that lenders have to use. So I would just argue that, no, you're out of my house because there needs to be a certain inspector in there. So you're out of my house until I find someone on the list. So you're done.
Yeah, so it's got to be like an actual licensed representative. Can't just be
Yeah.
like some
Licensed,
rando.
bonded, insured.
Yes.
Like,
You're
because
like-
they have to test things. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't want Uncle Bob running around trying my dishwasher
In the
and
attic.
my dryer and in the attic. And
Legs
like,
coming through the ceiling.
I'm just going to see what happens when I turn the pilot off on the boiler. Like,
Yeah.
let's check these earthquake straps. I'm like, no, get off the roof.
Get off the
What
roof,
are you
Bob.
doing, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do counter it often in a home inspection subject.
Yeah.
Like we'll actually make the adjustment to a licensed and bonded home inspector if they're just saying home inspector. If it's a realtor that I don't trust to follow through with someone reputable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome advice. So if you're an agent and you're receiving a contract that says a home inspection, add it in there. Add
Yeah.
those little words in there.
Yeah.
Angela, have you ever had a family or friend use an inspector that wasn't that was a family member, not a licensed person? Have you ever heard of that happening?
Yeah, I've heard of that happening, and it hasn't gone good. I mean, I feel like it's more of all a waste of money because it doesn't it's not acceptable that a lot of lenders don't accept it. So
Right.
for a lot of homeowners, it's a waste of money. They waste their money and they waste their time, and then they get disappointed. So I would just suggest to anyone, just wait and see what happens, because you can't just go in there expecting that you're going to find someone yourself. I mean, a lot of people here nowadays are getting their own home inspector.
Yes.
Have you heard of that? So
Well-
a lot of people are getting and then a lot of people are telling me like I've got my home inspected, so don't worry, this is what it's worth. Perfect. Okay, so now I want a HELOC. Well, oh my goodness, like going off track, but I mean, this is where people are going at nowadays.
Right. So with regards to a licensed home inspector, so I think what you might be thinking is a
Appraiser?
Yeah, we have appraiser and a home inspector.
Yeah, so appraisal, 100%. You can't just have somebody go in and say,
Some
hey, this
random-
is some random
Yeah.
person coming in and saying, hey, this is what my home is
Bob
worth.
said so.
Yeah, where somebody's trying to put in an amount of money, that would be completely unacceptable. And a home inspection, so say you're getting that guy to go around, test the hot water tank, test all that kind of thing.
Run the dishwasher.
Yeah, you can't just have some kind of like random person come in, because like you said, no one's going to look upon that favorably.
And to Angela's point, like for me as a realtor, for you two as realtors, if we have Uncle Bob giving the inspection, Uncle Bob isn't like coming up with some 90-page PDF
That's right.
with
Yeah.
images and like a thermal imaging camera to show that the radiant heating isn't working right and blah blah. So I mean, a home inspection's for four purposes generally that I tell my folks. Like, one is to decide whether or not you want to proceed with the sale, right? 2 is to negotiate on price. 3 is to negotiate that they fix certain things before completion. And 4 is to like build out your own, like, here's the honey-do list for when we actually take possession, or
Yeah.
to tell the strata, here's what you need to do when we take possession.
Yeah.
If it's Uncle Bob doing it, like number 2 and number 3, I've got no leverage. What am I supposed to show them? Like Uncle Bob's chicken scratch?
Yeah.
That in his opinion,
He wrote it on a
the
napkin
hot water
for you.
tank looks a little bit old. Like, that's not, I can't work with that
Yeah.
to either get a price reduction or have them replace it.
Have you ever had, David, have you ever had a deal die due to an Uncle Bob home inspector? Have you ever had an unlicensed person or somebody who wanted a family member to come in?
I mean, I've been thinking about that as we've been chatting, and I think we are able to intercept many of those situations, because even in the first onboarding process that we have with our buyers, we ask the question, is anybody else involved in the process? And like Uncle Bob's and Papa Bear's and whoever else it is that wants to get in the transaction, it's usually for very young people, young singles or young couples, and it's just protectiveness, and I get it. Like, it's a
Yeah.
noble desire, but I just ask the question from the get-go, is anybody else involved? Like, that's in our onboarding process. If they tick no there and they're young and we're sitting down in our consultation, I'll say, hey, you said no, but just wondering, like, is there anyone in the family that would want to come and see the property before you make your decision?
Yeah.
Or is a parent maybe contributing some funds towards it and they're going to feel like, they have an influence? So if the answer to that is, oh yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but Uncle Bob was in construction and we'll probably, want to consult him a little bit. I'll be like, okay, I want to meet Uncle Bob, like ASAP. And I'll actually invite Uncle Bob to come to some of the showings so that I can begin building some rapport and a sense of, okay, does this guy actually have a clue what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Does he not have a clue what he's talking about? Does he trust me? Does he not trust me? Like, it's all about the relationship at that point. And, often it's not the case that your buyers are purchasing the first place that they see. So you build up that rapport over time, and you have the chance to talk about like, hey, so when it comes time for home inspection, I have a few recommendations that I can give you. Like, Uncle Bob seems like he knows his stuff, but I'm gonna have to negotiate on price potentially, or I'm gonna have to, negotiate to get him to fix something, and I can't do anything with Uncle Bob's chicken scratch report compared to a 90-page PDF with pictures.
We had that once. We had a buyer who wanted their uncle to look at something, and they're like, "Oh, he thinks the hot water tank had a leak at one point." And I'm like, "It doesn't mean anything." And I told them that before they had him go in. I told them that after they went in, and they didn't end up buying. And I said to them, "Great, there's nothing I can do with this information.
Yeah.
If you want your family member to come into the home and give their opinion, it doesn't mean anything."
No.
So it just make them feel better. And we did that too. I learned that lesson pretty early in my career, where I had a young lady say, "Oh, I would never be able to buy this without my parents seeing it." Well, the market was so fast. I was like, call them and tell them to come right now.
They gotta come to the showings.
Yes, and now and they ended up buying it, they ended up getting it, but mom and dad were able to drop everything and be there within like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I had to put that in my buyer's questionnaire from that point forward.
Yeah.
So if you're a newer agent or an agent that doesn't have this as part of your process,
Have it in your onboarding.
work it in there.
Yeah.
Like, just make it good for everybody. And like Angela's saying, and it doesn't matter if it's a home inspector or if it's an appraiser or anything like that. You can't have people that aren't professionals give their opinion about the home.
Yeah, you need the proper people doing the right jobs.
That's right. Yeah, you absolutely have to make sure that happens. So, kind of final last question around the room. We'll start with Sheila. We'll work our way around. Would you buy a home without your parents seeing it, or somebody? Do you have somebody in your life that would have to see it and give it the thumbs up in order for you to buy it?
That's hard because I'd say you, but you're also my agent. I'm like, I want
And employer.
Kristy's opinion. Yeah.
You can't live here.
Yeah,
No.
but as far as parents go, I think the first time I was buying a home, I felt like that, but it was a very difficult market.
Yeah.
Things were going really quickly, so it was just kind of my husband and I had to make our own decisions, and we would share what we wanted to with the family. We would send them the MLS number and say, "Hey guys, go check it out. Like, this is the one we're thinking about offering on." But that's kind of where we left it at in terms of like saying we wanted to write on one or what kind of offer. That's something we dealt with. Yeah.
What about you, Angela?
Mine would be my husband.
Okay.
My husband would be his mother.
Okay. So you got a
boy.
you got a mother-in-law. Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's great. So you'd want your mother and so your husband would like your mother-in-law's input. That's his mom. He wants his mom's input on the home that he's going to provide.
Yeah, 2 homes that we bought together. It was, he needed to have. Great. Okay. What do you think? Well, he saw our places first, and then it was, okay. Well, we're gonna show my mom. And I'm like, okay. Showing your mom. I'm like, whose house is this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll just tell you right now, every son wants their mom to approve.
And then my husband
Like, we'll
husband
send her
loves
the
to say-
photos.
He's like, well, you have a son now. Would you want your son to bring you along? I'm like, ooh.
Well, he's 4, so yes.
But that's
He's 5. He's 5.
something to think about
was
down
close.
the road, though. Like
Yeah.
as parents,
Yeah.
right? Something to think about
Yeah.
because when your kids are doing that, obviously you're a real estate agent, David, so you're probably going to want to see the
I
house.
might have an opinion, yeah.
But
Just a little.
what if they were to buy a home without? You know what I mean? And what about you, David? Did you have anyone that had to see the home prior to you buying it?
No, I mean, I don't have any family around, so
Right.
other than my wife, and ultimately, like, when I saw that she was happy, that was it for me, and done deal. And I could imagine my kids out playing in the backyard, and they do that now. So
Nice.
it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I definitely had to have my parents through. I wanted their opinion. I wanted them to see it. My mom was absolutely disgusted with the house I bought. She liked the
Are
house,
we going to
but
get into why?
no.
I was like,
It was gross on the inside. It was like
has it been
was,
renovated?
Oh yeah, we
Okay.
renovated
No, she
it.
still lives like it.
Maybe her taste, everyone has
We
different
still
taste. No
live
judgment. No
that way.
judgment.
Yeah.
No, the home was trashed when we bought it. So my mother would never put in that effort. But she did say to me, I remember where I was when she was like, it's cozy, I think you could make a nice house here. But she goes, I could never buy this thing, because it was so disgusting.
So you had a vision. I love it.
Yeah, it was the right price, the right neighborhood, the right product. It just needed a new owner, ultimately.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimately that was what it ended up being. So, but I always say to people, it's okay to have a secondary opinion. Just don't let them overrun what's going on because uncle home inspectors, people who think they know the value of the home and then it messes with financing.
I think with parents as well, like, the market has changed so much since many of
Absolutely.
them
Oh,
bought their
yes.
first
Oh,
home.
yes.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you hear, I often hear this when mom and dad will get involved. It's like, oh, when we bought our first place out,
Yes.
out on the acreage there, we just switched sandals under the old elm tree, and that was a deal done. And it's like you're paying how much for a condo? I paid 1/4 of that for 16 acres out in Abbotsford, and I can farm that still. Like it's like,
Yes.
okay, but we're in a different world, and like the
Yeah.
market functions differently, and it's not that we don't respect that. Like I actually do. Like I got time for that. I find those stories really interesting,
Yes.
but they're not really pertinent to today's real estate market.
Yeah.
Well, it's
No.
crazy hearing them. Like,
Yeah.
literally, we have a place on Bowen Island. It's my husband's. It's been passed down, and his grandpa did a job for someone.
Yep.
And I think it says like 12 or 14 acres on Bowen Island,
Right.
and it's unbelievable that was just you.
I
gonna
just
do
have
a
to
job
plug
for
my
someone,
ears or I'm
and
gonna
like,
cry.
Yeah.
What? Like, you do a job for someone. I'm like, I do a lot of jobs. I do a lot of free jobs, and I've never gotten paid in land. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
nuts.
I'm asking for that from now on.
Times have changed, and
Yeah.
people sometimes they carry the old opinions with them, and
Yeah.
sometimes you have friends that just went through something, but they're in a completely different market, and they're trying to interject their opinion, and it can be really toxic really quickly.
Yeah.
So if you are a buyer, make sure you listen to your agent, get updated on the current market. If you're selling, understand that sometimes people have, they move into your house, they try some weird things out there. As long as it's respectful, it's good to
As
go.
long as he's out the bathtub by the time they get back.
As long as you're out of the bathtub, you're good to go. But guys, I really appreciate you coming on here today. Thank you so much.
This was a fun one.
Yes,
Thank
well,
you for
cheers
having me.
to end.
Cheers.
Thank
Good
you
job,
so
everybody.
much,
Cheers.
guys. That was
Oh,
great.
I didn't do the fancy handle hold.
Thank you for listening to Spilling the Tea, a real estate podcast with Kristy Massero and Shelagh Maycheck.